Alright, I have my first front turn signal made up now. This of course is the stock turn signal socket, which is exactly the same as it was on the back. I bought two more of these 85830s, 85830 General Motors. Modified these tabs exactly as I did for the back and have turned it in. It's easier to take the whole lamp assembly out, and it gave me an opportunity to wash it. I washed the lamp assembly inside and out. It was a little dirty, hazy, I guess. You see how hazy that is compared to this one, how much cleaner. And it was also a lot easier to turn the new socket into place. So I have that done. I will reinstall this into the fairing. Here are the screws, and it goes back into the fairing here. Then I'll work on the left side, have that done. I'm going to pull my power for the running lights. Of course, I haven't cut this wiring harness apart and looked in here to try to find keyed voltage. But when I installed the xenon headlights, the relay pigtails that I bought had an extra outlet here, and this is set up for a dual headlight assembly. So if I was going to run two headlights in a car, then I'd run one ballast and feed two lamps out of it. So this is 12 volts, and on this bike it's keyed because the headlights are on a relay, and after the engine cranks, the headlights come on. So the easiest thing to do is going to be run the running lights out of this, and I'll not have to make any alteration to the harness on the bike at all. Now this harness is what feeds the city lights, and I thought about splicing into this cable and then feed out. The only problem is I've got to run fire across to the other side of the bike. So I'll cut this harness out of the headlight assembly, the xenon headlight assembly. I'll splice my plug in, come back out of that plug, go across the fairing to the other side of the bike, and I'll feed both of the running lamps. The only thing will be when you turn the key on, the running lamps will not light up. As soon as the engine cranks, the headlight comes up, then the running lights will come on. So I believe that would be the easiest way to wire them in, and then of course I won't have to make any alterations to the bike or to the harness in the bike, which is part of the point of what I'm trying to accomplish here. Back here on the back, there was a auxiliary power point, and I was able to feed, and it was keyed, I was able to feed the two rear lights out of that. So we should have front and rear without making any alterations to the wiring harness itself on the bike. Now here's the modified harness and socket. Of course, you see what I've done, and I can turn this in and turn it around and get both of these clips inside the new housing. Of course, I'll put the gasket on here. This is the harness that came with the 8530, and brown is the running light, yellow is turn signal, black is ground. Here's the harness from the motorcycle. Of course, green is the turn signal, black with a yellow tracer is ground. So I've spliced these together. I can plug this in, and then this will be a plug on the bike for the running light. Now I'll take that up and clean it up real good, and then be ready to install it back into the housing. So here is the bulb installed, the gasket, and then I just took electrical tape, taped up this harness over my wire ends, and I'd run out of shrink wrap, so let's take this up. Now this will be installed into the light housing. Now the socket is turned into the housing, and should ride right there. One thing with this modification, you'll lose, there was a little locking tab on the stock socket, and you'll lose that, but the lamp is not going to go anywhere. Now I'll install this back into the housing, and then I need to make my modification on the bike, and I'll be ready to install all this again. Now the next modification, I'll cut this wire and put a wire end on it. Then I'll need to feed it across through the fairing to the other side, put another wire end, and I'll be ready to put the lower fairing back on the bike. Now, before I buttoned everything back up, I wanted to make sure that I had fire out of my harness, and we have running lights on the front of the bike, and the running lights on the front, of course, match the running lights on the back, plus the canyon bars. So now I will proceed to get the fairing back on and get all the bolts back in it around the canyon bars. But there is a test run of the front running lights.